Do you think? Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Khala Hadid. Some of you actually know me pretty well, and others are getting to know me. I've been in Birmingham for 5 years, and I'm the director here for Care Alabama. We are all gathered here today for a very important topic, and I think most of the women that I see in the room are, wear a hijab, and I also see some who don't, but most of us, I think, who do wear a hijab are in a very specific place right now in America. And I think we're extremely aware of ourselves as Muslims, I think. I think we were all in that space before, but now more so because at least the way things are turning out, people have started noticing us more too. Wherever if we're walking down the street, or if we're going to stores, or even if we're driving. So with BIS and CARE today, we thought that it was a good idea to come together and talk about some of the issues that women who wear a scarf might be dealing with in the last couple of weeks. So there's a couple of ways we can go about this, but I would like to start with our presentation for a few minutes, and afterwards Lucas is going to tell you about, as an American citizen, what your rights are under the Constitution, as well as what we can do in certain instances. Also, we would go ahead and try to discuss some of the things that you guys specifically may be dealing with, so we can have a conversation and talk about how to handle some of those things. I seriously, before we even start, I really hope that nobody's going through anything. That's the hope, at least. Jose? Hola. Yeah. Everybody can still hear me though, right? You can't? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Who in this room is aware of what CARE does? I think in the last couple of weeks we have been pretty active nationally in dealing with Islamophobic and hate speech issues, and we've been on the mainstream media as well. And actually, CARE Alabama has been on local news channels too, trying to cover a lot of these instances. So, but just for a refresher, I want to tell everybody what we do as an organization. CARE is actually America's largest Muslim civil liberties organization, and we've been. It was started in 1994, and now it has at least I want to say 20 chapters throughout the United States. Basically, our goal or our mission is that we want to strengthen the image of Islam. By what we mean by that, when we say that, is be a public figure where we're in the mainstream. Also, we're taking part in our civic duties as American citizens. Day in and day out. We're engaging with law enforcement. We're engaging with our politicians. We're engaging with civic leaders. We're engaging with interfaith partners. And we're essentially putting a face to Muslims in America and trying to talk about our issues, specifically Muslim issues. This is one of the things that we're here for today. A woman wearing a scarf is a very Muslim issue right now, even though it shouldn't be, because there are Christian women who wear hijab, there are Jewish women who wear hijab, there's, they cover themselves in different ways. But,
These rights extend to non-citizens also?
Yes, they do. They do. I'm sorry. Yes, they do. They essentially extend to people who are permanent residents here, but also other folks. They do too. Absolutely. Then we do defend civil rights. This is the question that President Schwab was asking us. what we do as an institution to defend civil rights. We take on cases that are specifically dealing with issues, for example, about discrimination, about issues that deal with hate crimes, or as simple as you going to a store and not getting proper service. These are the issues that CARE deals with. I think I want to quote the most recent case was when the Abercrombie and Fitch case that came up, where one of the women was denied employment because of her hijab. And CARE took on that case, and now Supreme Court has ruled on it. And this is a huge, huge deal for us as a community, because it speaks to the fact that hijab is something that is normal and a norm where our institutions recognize it, and they cannot other us because it's okay, and it's become a mainstream idea to denounce Muslims or have certain ideas or promote certain ideas about Islam and Muslims. And lastly, it's about empowering American Muslims. I really want to assert this point, what it means for us as a community. When we say empowering, just the mere fact that one of us in a hijab, or not even a hijab, any individual who calls themselves a Muslim, having representatives like us, who are engaged in our daily, in our community leadership, and are dealing with these issues day in and day out, it just makes that difference where every single day American Muslims are having a voice. If you see them on the television, we were having this conversation the other day with actually a media person, and every single time, President Shafak actually can attest to that, every single time we give interviews, there are numerous occasions where you only get to hear like a soundbite. You'll get to hear like that one sentence. I have come to the conclusion that in most organizations who deal with these issues, especially minority issues, they will tell you it really doesn't at the end of the day matter at what the language is as much as it's the images. The fact that every single night, every other night, or once a week, or even on your television screens, if you are able to see a woman in a hijab, or a man in a beard, or in a jilbab, or whatever, a minority on your screens, those people are entering your homes, and it makes for the normalizing of your own community. And I think that's where folks like us, CARE, specifically comes into play. That we're engaging our larger community where it's harder for them to start, talking about us as the other, or something that they don't know about, because now we're talking to them, and we're making sure that they're talking to us about us. Most of the times, our fears were that somebody else you would see on television who had no clue about what Islam or Muslims, or especially I think women, we generally have this complaint, will see like a huge panel of men, sitting talking about the women issues. Like that just makes me laugh a little bit sometimes. I'm like, seriously, do you really know what it means when you're wearing a scarf and driving? Do you really know what it means when somebody honks at you? Nobody really understands that. And I think it's just funny sometimes that everybody thinks they can talk to the fact as opposed to the fact, please get that individual there, who can actually speak to such experiences. So that's where CARE Alabama comes in, and CARE actually nationally. Anyway, I really wanted to talk about this. Once again, we're the leading professional Muslim civil rights organization actually here now in Alabama, defending civil rights and justice for all. Our aim is that we become not just a Muslim, but a civil rights organization that defends the rights of all people. Okay, now I'm just going to get to what we're actually here to talk about, which is how to deal with Islamophobia. Our take is these three things: positively, proactively, confidently. I cannot emphasize this enough. What does it mean to deal with it positively, proactively, confidently? You know, when I have that statement on there, how to deal with Islamophobia, you know, the assumption therein is that there is something called Islamophobia that is, you know, taken over our society. I was one of those folks who actually thought that we were exaggerating it, and until recently, I'm a new believer, and not because I work for CARE, but because I have seen instances and reports that tell you that it is actually has increased in the last couple of years. Unfortunately, 9/11 was one of the, you know, events post 9/11 where we saw a significant increase. But in the last 4 years and 3 years, we have seen a significant shift where FBI reports that hate crimes have diminished or are less for other minority groups and have increased, you know, substantially for the Muslim minority. So yes, when we talk about it, it is very real. There's an entire industry that's out there specifically trying to promote anti-Islamic or anti-Muslim hate. So I think if we realize it, we can deal with it. If we still, you know, brush it under the carpet, we're definitely not going to deal with it. And I think I was one of those folks like, you know, I'm going to go and start talking to people, and they're going to, oh, Fala's amazing, and, you know, they're going to fall in love with me, and that's how we're going to deal with it. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I've been in Alabama 11 years, and I've gone to school here. I've met a lot of folks, and changing minds and changing ideas about a way certain people think, I think is an effort that requires organization, where the amount of effort everybody else is spending on it, we need to spend equal amount of effort trying to, you know, bring the reality to the fore and the real truth about us, Islam and Muslims. So, positively, proactively, confidently. I will want to stop here for a little, you know, for a few minutes, and I would actually want to ask some of you what your thoughts are about, you know, Islamophobia and what your personal experience is in the last couple of weeks, especially because CARE, you know, they put out a report this week, actually last week, because it's Monday today. Last week about mosques being targeted for specifically in the last 3 weeks. They saw that increase after Paris attacks, and they saw an increase after San Bernardino. Unfortunately, our mosque also, well, you know, received what would you call it? Hate speech? Yeah, probably hate speech. So I think if nothing else, you know, mosques have been vandalized everywhere, and it's not really stopping. But we've also had a lot of support from, you know, our interfaith partners. So that's the wonderful thing that's come out of it too. But having said that, is there something that you guys specifically have felt that has hindered you from taking this on more positively in the last couple of weeks? Would anybody want to say something? Yes, please.
You know, what we see is happening. I mean, I've been in the United States since 35 years. But as we see what's happening here in the United States, that just like you mentioned, that this is accelerating. And why we are not paying attention that the acceleration of this issue is not out of the blues. There is an agenda to smear Islam in the face of others. And so no matter what we are talking about, we used to be in the United States trying to ask for our rights. Now we seem like we are just trying to ask to defend ourselves. And we are looking into tackling this issue by defending ourselves and try to find a way to protect ourselves and to corner ourselves. But don't we think that there is all these issues, something behind it, and it's not stopping, and it's actually, no matter what we try to circle on, it is going to circle from a different way just to smear the Islamic religion in the world in general. But we are right now in the United States.
You're actually absolutely right. This is true. This is something that organizations like CARE have worked on, and they have actually come to and actually it's not just CARE, a lot of organizations have come down to this conclusion. Southern Poverty Law Center is one of them, where they've come to the conclusion that this is something over the years, in the last 14 years, where a lot of researchers were of the idea that if people, minorities, especially Muslims too, because that's when people started really looking into Muslims and Islam and how American Muslims are. So they started, the idea started that if we start mingling, if we start, going out, meeting people, the more you assimilate, the easier it will become for everybody to accept you in a way where you're not going to be othered like that. When I say othered, it means it's the in-group and we're the out-group. The out-group is different, and different is something that makes you fearful. And these are not just cliches, these are something that, researchers have worked on, and these, unfortunately, become part of our system. When I say system, you can see it in the way law enforcement has handled, the Muslim surveillance issues in the last couple of years. And these are some of the things that came up because of this very notion that no matter what you did, it never seemed to, help at all. That's the unfortunate, I guess, aftermath of that. But the good thing about all of this is that organizations like here who worked on it, they think that engagement still is the best option. If we, like other organizations who are there, literally churning in day and out, producing reports, putting in money, and if we do not counter it, there is no way we can actually survive. And the reality for that matter is, and I think Lucas might want to, say something about this too. It's inherent in our system, in the American system. When I say that, it means that American system is developed on the ideas, or on the idea of exchange of ideas. So if somebody is coming to you with hate speech, the idea is not to, put cuffs on his hands. The idea is you bring your own more speech into it, and that's sort of the idea. So I don't know if you remember, there was this time, I think it was 2 years ago, when there was a lot of discussion about, like Muhammad cartoons, and after that we had the Paris Charlie Hebdo attacks too. And a lot of people over here started talking about incitement and hate speech in a way where, it's creating an environment where nobody feels safe, and we need to, bring in law enforcement and like that. And most of the times the argument is that you cannot, control intention. You cannot control what people are thinking. So the only way to deal with it is bring into the conversation other ideas. If you don't have other ideas, to counteract it, you really have nothing to go on. And I think even as Muslims, we have a very different place, as American Muslims, I want to say, a different place in this. I'm sorry we're talking too long on this, but we're going to...
That's what I wanted to figure out. The takeaway for the sisters today is to give them some, is that...
Yes, we're getting to it. Yes.
Yeah, so let's, otherwise there's so many things we can get into.
Yes.
But let's just pay attention to the...
I agree.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine. We're on the same page about this. But lastly, I think it's a problem that we as American Muslims have, that we have to really deal with. And that is, we're not just dealing with the Islamophobic folks that are out there, spreading hate. We're also dealing with the issue of ISIS. That's again is an idea battle. Where Muslims, come together and start putting out there, and which we've already done. We've seen American Muslims do this extensively in the last year, where they want to challenge those ideas. And I think that's where I want to answer your question. It's about ideas. That's probably the only way we're going to deal with it. Okay. Does anybody want to add to how they've dealt with this in the last few weeks? Yes, please go ahead. Okay.
If you can't hear me, I don't need
Sure.
that.
Yeah, go
If you can't
ahead.
hear me, I don't need it. You can't hear me.
I can hear you, but I would rather everybody hears you. Is that okay?
Assalamu alaikum. As a Muslim mother, a Muslim woman, a hijabi woman in the States, the last 3 weeks have risen so many questions into my head. One of them, and the main thing, is I think that I felt like on the edge between I am gonna try and show all the world the peaceful religion I believe I belong to, and between the fear for my family, for my kids at their schools, for me myself going to the store or driving my car. So I'm not sure if the sisters share this with me. I am really confused. I've been really confused, especially this after the San Bernardino events. It was like the point that turned everything. Before that, I dealt with everything, with all the accidents that happened in Europe or in the States. But this specific accident, I think the hatred in the media, social media, the debates and everything on it really confused me.
What do you mean by confusion? What does it specifically mean to you when you say that? What was this before the event, and what does it mean to you?
I think I had the idea before that event that I was confident that I should be part of my society, I should be part of my kids' school, I should be part of every event that happens in my neighborhood, or I should talk to everyone and express myself to everyone. But after this event, I was like, maybe it's time to start fearing, to start, isolate myself from those people. Maybe it's time to protect my family. Maybe that's the major thing I have to do. Instead of try and spread myself, maybe it's time to, just take care of my little family, and that's it.
Yeah. I think probably what I hear is San Bernardino sort of has been an overwhelming event where it literally has overwhelmed us as individuals and as community, So I think we can do this that way too, but we also have to remain calm, and we also have to remain ourselves. And I think ourselves are, positive, that's what you are to your children, you're a positive mother, you're a proactive mother, when something happens, if something happens in their school, your proactivity is that, you're gonna go and deal with it, and you're gonna talk to the teacher maybe, you're gonna talk to the principal, and I think that's what it means when I say proactive, But I absolutely understand what your feelings are. And I think it's a very rational fear, and unfortunately, it's a fear that I think the reason that we're all here today is we're feeling it. One of the ways to deal with it is to come together as a community. Most of the times, what happens is that folks, especially minorities, in societies like ours tend to go two ways. One, they become in groups where, they start looking towards, each other. They're like, okay, let's stick together and work this out. This is a great way of dealing with it, and I think this is how we're dealing with it right now. The other way is, some folks just tend to feel like, okay, you know what, I really don't want to take on the burden. This is too much. The fact that I'm walking down the road, I have nothing to do with the fact what happened in San Bernardino, and I actually don't want to explain anything. You know what, the way I want to answer to you is, you can go to where, and I'm not going to deal with this. And I think most folks right now are feeling this. And it goes back to the idea what our brother here pointed towards, and it is because in the last 14 years, I think our community thinks that we've done enough. We've gone out, we've talked to people, we've shared, our ideas, our thoughts, we've gone, talked to people proactively, and still, when we are in a moment of crisis, you see the worst of our fellow countrymen. You actually think that they're disappointing you when you've gone out and they're the ones who stood next to you a million other times. And I absolutely understand that, and I think we can discuss this a little more. How we can deal with that. But this is a very real thing that we're dealing with right now. Yes, please.
One thing I will say to that is that I think that probably the sentiment that you just expressed is probably what everyone is feeling. You're sort of torn between, do you do what you've always done and try to be a nice face for Islam, or if circumstances change such that you're now at a point where you really can't be engaging in dawah or doing anything else, but just trying to protect yourself and getting into your own community, protecting your family, and sort of the maternal instincts taking over beyond sort of the public dawah. And all I will say, just to sort of echo exactly what she said, is I think if we get to the point where all of us are so concerned, and this is easy for me to say, I don't wear hijab and I don't look like a Muslim, so it's easy for me to get away with these things perhaps than some of you, but I will say that it's incumbent upon all of us, I think, to ultimately defeat the ignorance that is out there, because I really think that's what fuels all of this. It's hate that's fueled by ignorance. I don't think people wake up every day and say, hey, who can I hate today? I think I'll hate that person. Usually they'll find people that they hate based on some misperception or misconception about who they are and what they represent. And when Paris happens, when San Bernardino happens, and Charlie Hebdo and all the other ones happen, unfortunately, I think it sets us back as a community a number of years every time one of those incidents occurs, because you will get it it'll be on the news every night, all the time, all day long, and all of the positive things that people have seen all of us do in the daily lives that we've lived is countered and even removed by the negative sentiment they get from seeing these Muslims on TV doing these things that they're doing. And so, but all we can do, we have a couple of options. We can either say, okay, they win, and the perception that exists of Islam in our country is what it is, and we're just going to do the best we can to protect our families, or we can say we have to keep fighting the good fight, so to speak. We have to keep waking up every day. We have to keep being a positive face for Islam. We have to keep having the neighbors we have and being the people we are, and that over time, inshallah, people will get to know the truth. And I know it sounds awfully Pollyanna for me to say that, but I don't know anything else we can do but to continue to try to do the things we're doing. The thing I don't think we can do is to regress, to be reclusive, to stop trying to explain to people what we're all about. I mean, again, I think it's defeating ignorance. And I think the way you defeat ignorance is by educating people. And the way you educate people is more so by your example than it is by telling them the Quran doesn't promote that. The Quran doesn't do that. And that's, all of us seem biased when we make those statements, and no one really believes we have credibility that, oh yeah, you're protecting this, or you interpret this way, but the real interpretation is this. So I think all we can do is continue to live as we've lived and represent Islam as best we can. Let me just take just a second, if I can, just to speak about some of the legal framework that surrounds this issue. Our community here locally has received, as Colin mentioned, a handful of emails and voicemails in the time that's followed Paris, in particular in San Bernardino. And on occasion, we've received these kinds of emails in the past where, hey, ragheads, you guys go back to your country, et cetera, et cetera. We've gotten those kinds of emails before. After San Bernardino in particular, the last couple of weeks, we got two in particular we've later determined were from out of state. But when we got these two comments, the first one was about, oh, I'm going to come put up pictures of Muhammad in your mosque, and I'm going to be there on Friday to put up these pictures. And the person thought that was cute, what they were saying, and they were laughing in the background, etc. And it's probably some 18-year-old kid that thinks he's funny and impressing his friends. But we got a couple of these in a row, and it sort of disheartened a lot of us that saw them and heard the messages. But subsequent to those 2, maybe 3 communications, we've received probably 35 to 40. I mean, it's 6 or 7 to 1. Emails, people bringing things to the masjid saying, hey, we support you, we're a Christian, but we support you as our cousins. We recognize that the face of Islam that's portrayed in the media is inaccurate. These are local people in Alabama around these streets that have come in 6 or 7 to 1, that have come to us sending emails and voicemails. We've talked to many of them, expressing their solidarity, expressing their concern for our safety and the things that you guys are concerned about. They're ready to stand arm in arm to help us and support us. So I just want everyone to know that while we do live in a state that's probably not the most educated state on this issue, I'll acknowledge, and it's a very much a red state that's going to likely be watching Fox News tonight and hearing a lot of the things that we don't want them to hear, there are still within our state a lot of good people and a lot of people that don't necessarily agree with what's being said. But as Kala said, we can't manipulate people's, we can't manipulate people's intentions. All we can do is try to sort of educate them. So I just wanted to sort of emphasize the fact that in our current environment, we're not aware of, and you guys speak to this if you know differently, and you may have heard, that we're not aware of any specific instances where any sisters have informed BIS or CARE or anyone else with violence or any sort of activity beyond, I mean, we've heard things like, so-and-so made a comment about that Muslim, or, oh, you're Muhammad this, or you have a bomb under your shirt, those kinds of things. There have been some statements that have been made like that. Thankfully, we have not heard, as repulsive as that might be to people, and I certainly understand that, we've not heard any instances where someone has been physically threatened or physically harmed. If you guys know differently, I would hope that you tell us any time you hear that going forward after this meeting or otherwise, you please need to contact CARE and document any of those instances. But we've not heard any of that just yet. So I guess the reason I'm emphasizing that is to hopefully help everyone understand that notwithstanding what you see on TV every night, the reality we have locally does not appear to be as vile as it could otherwise be. And around the country, we are hearing some instances where people are being harmed. I don't mean to imply that that's not going on, but perhaps it's a little bit overblown here locally. So that first thing I wanted to say. Second thing I want to say is just talk a little bit about the legal framework in this country, in Alabama, regarding these issues. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, our First Amendment, as most people know, protects certain types of speech, which includes speech that we may find distasteful, that may be rude, that may be mean, that may be hurtful, and something you never want your children to say to anyone else. But our Constitution protects that speech, just as it will protect speech that you might say that the government doesn't agree with, or that someone else might not agree with. You have the same rights that everyone else does to make the statements they make. So when someone makes a statement, even if it's a rude and, hey, why does that person have a bomb under their shirt, those types of things, that does not cross the line towards criminality. Those are speeches and statements that you can make, and that if you tell the police, they're going to look at you and say, I'm sorry that happened, but go on your way. What I wanted to talk about, though, was some of the things that people might do that crosses that line. Not all speech is protected. Not all activity is protected. In fact, most of it is not. I will tell you that I've been very positively impressed with our local law enforcement and our FBI in recent times when these two instances occurred where someone left a voicemail about the pictures of Muhammad, and when someone wrote the email about go back home. The FBI and the police department were very quick to support us and to try to find out who these people were, to determine whether or not these communications constituted harassing communications, which is a criminal offense in Alabama. And I'll talk in a second about what that means. And they've been very supportive in trying to track these folks down, and we haven't tracked either one of them down just yet, but we're working on it. But they have been very quick to come to our aid and come to our support. They haven't dismissed us at all. So know that the law is behind us, that the law enforcement folks here locally are behind us. They've reached out to us on many times before Paris and otherwise to ask us if you ever see anything going on in your community that you're concerned about, let us know. We're happy to help, and I believe them. I think that they will help us. So just know that you're not out on your own, that when things like this happens, you do have recourse. The first step, I think, is to contact CARE, report the instance. We'll hopefully guide you on whether or not it crosses the line of just harmful, hateful speech versus something that's actually criminal. As I mentioned, there's a statute in Alabama that's called harassing communications. And what that really amounts to is, unfortunately, the way the law was written, and I don't know what it was written for, usually these laws come to be because of a specific instance and somebody gets together, writes a law, and passes it. This is one that really only focuses on written or electronic communications or telephonic communications, and either not verbal communications. But in either of those instances where it's documented in the form of an email or in the form of a voicemail or in the form of a letter, mailing, things like that, if it is speech that has the intent, and you have to prove intent, but if the intent of the person providing the speech is to harass or to alarm the person that they're speaking to, that's a crime in Alabama, punishable by 3 months in jail. That's the mechanism that we've used, hopefully, to get to this person that we think sent the email from Northern Kentucky and the person that left the voicemail from Ohio. We've all at least identified where they're calling and emailing from, to try to pursue these individuals, even though they probably didn't mean anything by it other than just to be a jerk. We're pursuing it, law enforcement is supporting us in that pursuit. Though, notice what I didn't say is when someone says something to you on the street, someone rolls down their window as you're sitting at a red light and says, "Go back home, raghead," or uses profanity, or says some of these things that we find distasteful. Unfortunately, the reality is that that speech is protected. And so I think some of us, some of this is going to have to result in us having, again, easy for me to say, but we've got to get thicker skins. We've got to be able to ignore those kinds of things. We've got to keep our chin up. We've got to know that we're hold the truth, that our religion teaches us to respond to people who are rude in a non-rude way. And all we can do is practice our faith the way we practice it. There are no suggestions that our government's not going to allow us to practice our faith, or that we're going to allow people to impair our faith. So just bear that in mind, and know that if there are instances where people are concerned that something's happened that may or may not have crossed the line, CARE is here to hear those concerns. We'll take it to the next level. It can be as confidential as you want it to be, but I encourage everybody, if something happens that you're uncomfortable with, please, please, please report it. Okay. Even if it's something that you don't think it rises to the level of criminality, it's still something we want to document. It's still something we want to look at, because as we develop these patterns of conduct and things that have been done, it might help assist us in building cases against other individuals based on what your situation was, even though it may seem sort of minor. So I think that's a terrible question.
I don't think I can. One time I was in Homewood and I had an occurrence where a man verbally attacked me in a shopping center, and someone saw it and they called the police. And when the Homewood police came, he said that I could he took down the man's information, his ID, his address, and his number, and he told me that I could file a complaint with the magistrate if I wanted to against him. So
what specifically was said to you?
He said Sharia law sucks and started an altercation about it.
And that's sort of the question, is the altercation question. I mean, there's a assault. I mean, the definition of assault in Alabama is not, people confuse that to think that you have to touch someone, hurt someone. Assault is a threat, but it's a threat that gives someone, and this will bring back memories of criminal law. It's when you create a reasonable apprehension in another person for immediate bodily harm or death. Serious bodily harm and imminent bodily harm. So to threaten you, as I was talking to Mom Tomer a minute ago, if I were to threaten you from here and say, I'm going to kill you by throwing this thumbtack at you, it wouldn't be reasonable for you to assume that you're going to incur serious bodily harm or death. It's not reasonable. The apprehension has to be reasonable. So if that person said to you, Sharia law, and made additional threats to your safety or to harming you physically, and those threats were reasonable, then it's assault. If he touches you, makes contact with you, that's unwanted, that's battery. I mean, these are things that do cross the line beyond talking, but if all he's saying, to my knowledge, and I don't profess to be a criminal lawyer, but to my knowledge, I mean, by all means, it doesn't hurt to call the magistrate, and maybe they'll go and talk to the person, send a patrol officer out there, and at least scare the person and hopefully deter them from doing that again. But as it relates to filing a criminal action against those individuals and preventing them from doing that, or jailing them. I think it's got to be more than just a negative statement about your faith.
But I think what that police officer was telling you was to file a complaint. And when you do file a complaint, we've dealt with issues like these. There's actually one of, this was right after the San Bernardino attacks, where a family, they contacted us and somebody online actually had been, you know, threatening one of his wife, you know, and he actually filed a complaint. And the police recommended that he file a complaint. What filing a complaint does is it sometimes, you know, rises to the level where it can be a misdemeanor, and I think that's what your police officer was trying to tell you. Please go file a complaint. And usually when a police officer tells you that, that means that there's something that can be done, you know. So every single time we have instances like this, I would recommend please go file a complaint and then contact me as soon as possible. And if nothing else, if we can't, you know, get those people on misdemeanor charges or anything else, we can actually do something where, you know, that complaint is with us. We can utilize other ways of, you know, dealing with it differently. But I'm extremely sorry that you had to go through that experience. Seriously, that was, yes.
Could you please tell us how to contact CARE, or where is CARE?
There are actually a lot of ways to contact us. One of the easiest ways for you to do that is go to care.com, and they have on there, if you search, but you don't even have to search. One of their icons is file a report. So if you encounter, I hope not, you know, that you don't, but if you do, you know, all you have to do is put your name. There's like a complete list. I can bring it up here. It just, you know, it'll ask for your name, your, you know, just a little bit about your background information, and then you'll have to just tell us, you know, what kind of incident you went through. What that does is, as soon as you hit, you know, submit, they'll get it to me. And that's how I instantly get reports of folks who actually don't know that CARE Alabama chapter just started. We got our 501c 2 months ago, so we're brand new in that way. We've been working behind the scenes and trying to organize ourselves, but that's why you haven't seen us proactively trying to, you know, solicit you know, specific cases, just only for that reason. But most of the times, every single time, even if you contact CARE National, they'll get to us. But the other way for you locally in Birmingham, if you know, whichever mosque that you're going to, just tell them that, you know, I want to contact CARE. You can contact CARE through that too. Other way would be on our Facebook page. If you do not use Facebook we have, you know, you can go to www.facebook.com/CareAlabama. If you don't want to use that, you can go just email us at care.alabama@gmail. There's Roa has, you know, that, you know, she can give it to you. There's a mailing address on there too. Even if you don't want to do that, it's not on that sheet. Roa will give it to you right now. Yes, please, Roa. Even if not that, you don't want to do that, our website is www.carealabama.org. It's under construction. Hopefully we're going to get it up very, very soon. You can do info@carealabama.org. So there's a million ways to get in touch with us. I'm sorry you felt like, you know, we weren't there for you to reach out to us.
No,
but
it's just that we're talking about this, so we should know how to contact you guys.
Absolutely. My idea was I would, once again, ladies, I shall put it up after, you know, we're done. Please, Roa will hand it out to you too. So before you leave, make sure that, you know, you note down our way to get to us, okay? So also, you know, to your point earlier, I don't want to drag this on, but I really think it's important that I honestly believe that we might not have been doing our job well enough for you guys to feel great about yourself right now as a Muslim, that you feel like you're the one who has all of this to deal with.
I've encountered 2 positive things.
Wonderful.
Or 3 maybe.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
I've encountered 3 positive things that people have come up to me and said, how are you doing today? And I hope you're doing well.
Wonderful.
So alhamdulillah, nothing.
I need to hear that too. That counter, I
Yes,
need to hear
please.
that. Because that counters some of the
Yeah,
negative.
I mean, at the first instance, I really wasn't where, why is she asking how I am? What happened today? And then I started, I started pinpointing things and thinking, oh, because of that thing. Okay, then, okay, I'm good.
But, you know, I want you to feel confident that, you know, we're going to do our job better. We're going to make sure that you're not the only one, you know, dealing with it by yourself. If any time you all feel like there's something going on, you know, an organization is there to help and to empower. That's what it means to empower, that you don't have to go at it alone. So please don't hesitate to contact us. If you think nothing can be done, please let us decide. And if nothing can be done, we'll let you know. We're gonna sit together over coffee and say, God damn, we can't do nothing, you know. So, but let's sit together and decide that together instead of you guys doing it alone. Okay. Alrighty. So quickly, I'm gonna go over some of these things. You all have a handout, you know, in case you are faced with the unfortunate. You know, unfortunate person who thinks he knows everything and he's gonna let us know too. So if you're walking alone or traveling alone, this is extremely important, you know, for everybody, especially for folks who go to school or who go to colleges. I know if you guys are living in dorms, or even if you're, you know, going back and forth from your car to your class and that sort of thing. Some of us have evening classes, and some of us have dealt with that. And I can imagine how, you know, how it feels, especially, you know, during parking lots and that. So please, one of the most important things, I think it's just random and nobody really thinks about it, but that being aware of your surroundings literally can save your life from a person who is hell-bent on, you know, trying to exercise his right. So how can you be aware of your surroundings? One of, actually an amazing way, and I think this is girl code, where I don't know if men realize this, but we do. What we do is we walk really fast. Like we walk really fast, and we look straight up and we're like, you know, we got business and we're going somewhere. Weirdly enough, that's body language that tells people that you can't really do anything, you know, that person is, you know, unapproachable. So I know we realize that we want to be approachable, but at certain points, especially, you know, when it's evening where, you know, we think it's going to be smart to not be in a position where there's not a lot of people, it's dark, and that sort of thing. So please, be aware of your surroundings. And once again, look confident. If you're verbally attacked, keep calm and walk away towards a crowded space. Inform security of the situation. And this is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Most of the times, we think that we can deal with it if we respond to people. And sometimes we can, and that's the truth. But other times, we really don't know where that other person is coming from. And so it's always smart, especially today, where we really can't be sure. Most people are awesome, like, you know, that lady just told us that, you know, people come up to you and say, hey, how are you doing? And I feel like a lot of us may have had that similar experience in recent days, who've been approached with people who only want to say something nice, you know. And you'll see that, you know, the way they reached out to you, it's almost like, you know, they're as fearful if you're gonna, you know, feel bad, if they're, I just wanted to say hello, you know, don't worry, and that sort of thing. So there are those people out there, but a good idea is, if you're confronted with a situation like this, always remain calm and just get yourself out of that situation, no matter what you do. There's another thing that if you can carry something, I recommend carry it. All women need to, regardless of whether you wear a scarf or not, especially if you're working, if you're going outside, if you pick or drop your kids all the time, or if you're young women, you know, going to school, going to events, or if you are in your soccer team, or if you're, you know, in your athlete team, whatever you guys are doing, it's always smart to carry something with you. I don't really, I'm not a, personally, I don't really care for pepper sprays. I don't think it's, you know, it's not that, I guess. It has other issues with it, but, you know, carry something that can make a lot of noise. And I know that if somebody else knows about it, there's just something that you can get from Walmart or anywhere, really. It's really tiny. You can put it in your purse or even sometimes in your pocket too. It makes like a lot of noise. Most of the times that's a good way to let everybody know that something is not right here. So if you are physically attacked, that is another thing to do, as we all do all the time, yell. Our voices are our best support at that time. Unfortunately, I don't know if anybody's gone through, I hope not, I hope nobody raises their hand, but sometimes in occasions when we as folks are confronted with extreme fear, we lose our voices. And most of the times we can't respond and we feel like our bodies are just, shutting down on us. So that's a very, very real thing that happens to most people. And that usually happens if you haven't thought about this before. And even sometimes you really can't do anything about it. So another thing is to carry something. And once again, be extremely aware of your surroundings, wherever you are. Yell, shout, draw attention. Do not allow the attacker to take you from that location or place you're in a vehicle. This is something that's very basic, but this is something that helps a great deal. So I can discuss later with some folks if you want to talk about this more. But hopefully, inshallah, we hope nobody ever, no situation comes to that. Okay, if you're in the car, if you're driving on a highway and someone is attempting to cause an accident, please keep calm. One of the most important things, of course. But drive to your nearest police station if you fear you are being followed by a vehicle. On the first note, when I say remain calm, please don't use your vehicle as, sometimes we think we need to speed up or slow down. It's happened to me a couple of times where I would be driving and I would see, somebody come right up to my car and they're like extremely, so in the beginning I would think that they're just curious, they want to see somebody in a hijab. But a few other times I would feel like, somebody's rushing up against you and then they're going back, they're coming up next to you and then they're going back and then I'm like, dude, there's something's really up, Am I just thinking about this in my head or this person is really, up to something? And that's when, that puts you in a lot of danger. Just the mere fact that your concentration is now off the road and on that person, whatever that person is trying to do, so that's a very scary situation. Do not, handle your phone at that time, of course. But a good way to deal with it is slow down your car, try to go on the slow lane, and just to make sure that that person is, not doing that. Or, just try to take an exit and, get off the road and, do something. But just don't carry on the same way because that can become dangerous. As soon as you find yourself at a spot where you think it's clear and you're okay, call 911 if you're still fearful. And after that, you can absolutely always report it to us. I really hope inshallah nobody has to go through that. But sometimes some of us have dealt with this in the past, and so this is something to be very aware of. Okay. Also, never leave your car door unlocked. This is so important, especially now we all have those keychains, those keys where we can, unlock and lock from far. I'm still skeptical about the idea where you want to be unlocking the car from, if you're quite steps further from your car. I really think, I don't know why I think that, but I feel like somebody's going to go open the car and go, So I feel like as soon as I'm really close enough, that's when I would want to just open the car up before and just, get in and just close the door. And this is mostly at times where, you feel like you're isolated and you feel like you're alone and there's a car parking lot and that sort of thing. For starters, it's always smart for women, especially after dark. If you can travel together, have somebody with you, especially young girls who go to school and go to colleges. Please make sure that you ask somebody to help you. Don't be shy. I'm sure you have friends who can walk you to your car, and everybody would be more than willing to say, okay, you know, don't worry about it. Let me hang out with you for another 5 minutes, and make sure you take that assistance. And sometimes that's the worst, major mishaps. So that's one of the things. Ask for assistance if you think you need it. Even sometimes you need it just as a precaution. It's always smart to ask folks to help you like that. Avoid parking in areas that are not well lit. Absolutely. I think it's probably the most important thing to understand. Once again, if you can't avoid it, ask someone to follow, to take you to your car. Maybe 2-3 folks, however many. Keep windows up and doors locked even when you're driving. Okay, and these are just some of the important points that I thought that we all needed to discuss together, but there's more information in your handout, and please, for mothers who have young daughters and young boys as well, please read it, go talk to them about it. And young girls, if you don't see a friend here, even if she wears a scarf or she doesn't, please read it, share it with her. And also, I would actually recommend you guys talking about it today at home, talk to your brothers, your siblings, and that sort of thing. Okay. Alrighty. Another important point is you call 911 if you think you're in danger at any point. This is one of the most important things that you can do. Has anybody ever called 911 before? You don't really have to raise your hand, but I don't. Okay, you have. I really don't think most people have actually had the experience of calling 911 until, if you think so I think most people think that we can call 911, but really, do we really need to call 911? So we're always, doubting ourselves. But please, if you think this is something, for example, did you call 911 in that incident?
No, someone else called.
Someone else does, right? So they did the best thing they could have done, call 911, because that person feared that this could escalate to something. Even if they didn't have the fear, they just felt that there was something that, that the police needed to be involved. So please, call 911 as soon as you can. Also, another thing is to use your smartphones and your camera. If you think something has happened where you've been confronted with something, a good thing would have been to, when she was confronted with that person and that person had called 911, was, afterwards, if there was no police involved in there, to try to remember what the individual looked like, what they were wearing, and whether, anything specific that you could remember about them. Most of the times what happens is we really don't remember any of it. Sometimes we don't even remember what they were saying, but we just are so overwhelmed by the situation that we come out of it remembering nothing. So that's not good. The good idea is to, while you're in the conversation, stay calm and patient. I think even as people of faith, that is something that is, we learn as children, as Muslims, and that's the way of the Prophet, but it helps us in ways that, I think, that are beyond, I want to say, beyond anything else. It just makes for a better situation overall, completely. So be aware of your surroundings. Make sure that you know who that person is. At least, remember some of the details. Try to get, if they're in a car, try to remember the car, the color of the car, the make of the car if you can. If you get a chance, take down their number plate. Even if you remember how many folks there were, it's good to remember if there were 3 or if there are 2. It's good to remember if they were young or if they were old, if there was an older gentleman or a younger woman or whatever, those sort of details. It helps. Filming an attack. This is something that helps. Even, I actually sometimes think it's also better even if the police is there, just to take photos of that encounter, like of what the police were asking, what they were asking that individual, not specifically the video, but just take pictures, just for your reference. If you could bring it to CARE, then we'll have something, that you encounter at that point. That's always a good idea. Okay, well, Lucas hinted on, what it means for criminal charges and everything. And once again, I would recommend that please contact us so we can determine whether it's something that rises to that level. Again, this is one of the ideas that's in your handout, that consider purchasing a phone with just call and text options for every family member, especially kids in school. And I think now we have apps for that too, and that's a great idea if you can download apps specifically. Just when you're going out, tell somebody, tell your friend, tell your mom, tell your sibling, even tell somebody, especially when you're walking from one place to another. Hey, I'm going to my car, or I'm going out to get coffee or whatever. Just from point A to point B, make sure somebody knows. Don't be, don't think that, okay, I don't need to tell anybody where I'm going. Yes, you do, especially, just for precaution. Someone needs to know where you are, and it's a very good habit to keep. Although everybody will know where you are, but, not everybody, but just, tell somebody at least. Somebody who you think will not be like, oh, there's somebody, okay. Anyway, so, also very important, make a habit of charging the phones the night before and never leaving home without them in the mornings. So important. Especially now for most of us who use smartphones, our phone chargers are just like out. I feel like now I'm using my phone so much, like half day, I feel like I need a charger like right now. So please, make sure your phone is charged. I cannot assert that enough. That is extremely important. Our phone is sometimes the best help that we need at moments like these. Anyway, okay. Whoa, sorry. Does anybody have questions? Lucas, do you have something to add?
Well, all I would say, I just would love to hear from you guys. I mean, obviously this event is for you, and is to hopefully allay some of your concerns, but we thought that maybe just by having everyone get together and hear what the sister said about the positive thing, I think is as important as anything else we've said, just so people understand what we're really dealing with and how dire is the situation and what recourse do we have. Know that law enforcement is there to protect you. I don't mean to imply, I felt like maybe I was going a little too far in saying that people can do all these things, there's nothing you can do about it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we have to realize that there are certain instances where people say things that it's just a mean thing. But all that said, are there anything that anyone could add that would suggest for us and call on others to do that we could do a better job of communicating or a better job of protecting? We'd love to hear some more dialogue from the sisters on their thoughts, concerns, fears, and what we can do as a community to fix this problem. Anything? Anybody?
Wait, there was a mic here, like the smaller one.
Yeah, it's
Okay, I'm gonna bring it back to there. Oh.
No,
Okay, Sean.
Yeah. I don't know if we can bring it all the way down there if we can.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Okay, I just want to thank you so much for your effort you are doing to help the Muslim community here. Okay, I just have some advice, what I advise myself and to my kids. We have to know what is going on right now. It's not something new in Islam. If we look at the ayah that was revealed when Allah said, يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. The ayah was revealed 100,000 years ago, but it's not, the time when it was revealed, this time was not arrived yet, but what was going on at that time is the same thing that is going to go on until the end of the world. What I'm going to advise myself and to all of the Muslim community is to be stronger in the Islam. to know that the Islam was being hated since it begins, and it's never going to be loved unless the Muslim people only is going to be, they are the only ones going to be held in this world. So they have to make sure to love their deen, to make sure not to go behind, to change their mind of wearing the hijab or abayas, or they have to make sure not to be scared when they go outside, not to feel guilty, they have to feel happy. You know, they have to make sure they love the people who they see outside, give them salam, smile to them, act like nothing is going on, because we know that some Muslim already do something, some people who have Muslim name already do something that gonna make the people who hate Islam gonna help them more to hate Islam, but that doesn't mean that we have to lay back and be scared and change our face and our clothes because of that. We still have to be strong and love one another and love the other Muslim, the non-Muslim people that we deal with. Inshallah, it's going to be a khair. Inshallah, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Go behind you there.
Right behind.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Rahima Akhtar. I'm Rahima Akhtar. I have been working in the Islamophobia Hill City School Systems. I work as a substitute teacher. Alhamdulillah, I never faced anything negative situation. When I go to school, all the staffs, like mostly they are American and other religions people, they love me, and I feel not fear. I feel peace, and I never noticed anything bad. Sometimes I go to high school, that is Islamophobia Hills High School. I see some young girl, they wearing hijab. That time I feel very good, so happy and proud. But I want to say everyone that we should not fear. We should only fear to Allah. This is our God's command to wearing hijab and cover ourselves when we go to outside. So we can't leave them. If we can't leave them, we can't fear people more than Allah, more than God. We should be polite. We should be modest, we should be a good role model. If we go outside and do a good behavior with the other people, inshallah, one day they will understand us, inshallah. One day I went to a doctor's office. One lady, she's a Christian. By the way, she talked to me about that incident. She said that it is the matter of individual. We can't count this incident as a whole ummah or whole nation. So if we face something, we should say, this is very sad, this is very sad, we don't support this thing, we don't appreciate this thing. We should save our life, our gods never comment this way. So we should be sorry about if any incident happened, we should say sorry. We don't like this, our God doesn't like this. We should be painful, we should be make them consonant that we never allow this kind of stuff. And we should be modest and be kind to them as a good role model. And inshallah, we can feel good thing. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for both of your comments. I absolutely agree. It's important that in times like these, we do practice or continue to practice our faith. The great thing about America is that we not only just the laws the laws actually help us be the best type of Muslims that we can be. Every single day, we have everything going for us. Like Lucas said, law enforcement is one of those governmental institutes that has been helping us do everything that we can in trying to deal with these issues. Actually, after today's meeting, I'm going to meet with the assistant AG, and we're going to talk about it, what your all thoughts are, and they're extremely curious. They want to know, they want to help. So I think that's the amazing thing. I don't think any one of us needs to feel discouraged. Oh my gosh, I can't wear my hijab, or I can't be the way I am. I think if anything, it's the opposite. You need to feel like you can do whatever you want to do, even if it's taking off the hijab. I don't want to take that off the table. If somebody actually thinks that they want to take it off, please don't feel that you're going to be stigmatized or marginalized because of a certain way you think you need to deal with this issue. I think that's also a very cathartic thing for us to do as a community. That to not, literally marginalize people who our community, who think that this is the best decision for them for right now. So having said that, I also feel that we have every occasion to continue to be ourselves. I don't think San Bernardino changed anything. If it changed anything, it changed the fact that we all found out what actually everybody was thinking. And, so also we found out that there were people in our communities who want to stand with us, who love us, who want to help us. We saw support here in BIS. We've been working with other interfaith partners who've been I get emails every single day who are telling us, please let us know what we can do, let us know what we can do. And so if we have people out there who want us to be us, I don't think why we need to not be us ourselves, So having said that, I absolutely agree with both our sisters here that it's important that we continue being ourselves as Muslim women. Also, while we're on the subject, I think it's a great practice just for us. I'm gonna keep it. It's 7:05 right now. It's a good practice. I don't think we do it enough. That when we see each other or another hijabi down walking the street, I think it's a great idea always to acknowledge each other, and I think it usually does tell each other that we're not doing this alone. Sometimes that day you will have changed her, her opinion about how that day was going, and sometimes just that nod that okay, you got it, I got it, let's keep walking. So I think that makes a lot of difference. Don't be shy. Don't roll your don't look the other way. Make sure that you're making the eye contact. Be proactive, and I think that's a way to give back. That's paying it forward, and we all have to pay it forward the way we have. The way we live, we're extremely privileged, and our opportunities are endless. So I think we cannot victimize ourselves and think that we don't have everything that everybody in America enjoys. So we need to feel empowered, and we have every single thing at our disposal when something like that arises. For example, like Lucas just told us, if something were to happen, we were gonna make sure that we take care of this. So don't think that nobody's gonna do anything about it. We make sure that our voices are heard and people respond. People are extremely worried, or actually more worried about us than we are ourselves. So I really want everybody to feel that. And if you think we can do something else, just to help you in this situation, let me know. Also, before we end this, Lucas, I would... Yes, please. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm going to give it to them.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair, Brother Lucas, Sister Kaula, and you've got a good handout from Sound Vision and good practical ideas, but Imam is not here. He's put a very good post on his Facebook. Of course, we can do all these things legally, we can do all these things in a physical sense to get ourselves prepared. But most important is that when, morning and evening there are some adhkar, there are some remembrance that we need to
Sure, absolutely.
really make it a habit. Imam put that, of course there are many adhkar, but he specifically put, saying 3 kuls, kul huwallahu ahad, kul a'udhu birabbil falaq, and kul a'udhu birabbin nas. Each one of them 3 times with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim in the middle. And everybody knows this. Then saying 3 times Bismillahir la yadurru ma'a ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis samai wa huwa as-sami'ul 'alim. And then Hasbi Allahu la ilaha illa huwa alayhi tawakkaltu wa huwa rabbul arshil azim 7 times. So these are the things that Imam has put on his Facebook. We need to memorize them. And Bismillah tawakkaltu ala la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah when we leave our homes. So we do all these preparations, but have faith in Allah.
Absolutely.
And makes those adhkar, and as Prophet ﷺ said that this will protect us from any kind of evil that we may face. So this makes this habit not only in these times, but all the times. So that's what Imam is not here. I was hoping, so I was going to ask him to, because he put those things, this were very good. I translated them and I put them in the, translated for the non-Muslim crowd, and everybody appreciated it. And they say, oh, this is the same thing. Our faith teaches us. So it is very important that we return back to Allah, and this time Allah has provided us an opportunity to kind of ponder on some of these things. Jazakumullah khair, Brother Lucas, Brother Sister Khawla, amazing job, and this is going to be an ongoing, I hate to say, I would like to say that it's going to get better, but I'm not going to say that.
Inshallah, it will.
But again, Imam also reminded me that before Fajr, it is the darkest part of night. So as the darker it gets, the Fajr is getting closer. Jazakumullah.
Brother Lucas, before, I really don't want to end here. The idea today is that I really want to hear back from you guys what you think is going on, what you've dealt with. Anybody wants to participate and, talk about some of the issues that you guys are specifically dealing with. Also, if you prefer that we let the menfolk out for a little bit, we can talk about this amongst ourselves too. So if you prefer that, they don't start until 7:30, so I can them out, and we can take over. Would you like to do that? If it's all the same, then we can still keep talking. I don't mind at all, actually. So, but if somebody wants to add something to this, I would really appreciate it. Brother Lucas, you want to say?
Well, just last thing I'll say is in talking to people at my business where I work, and talking to non-Muslims or very educated individuals, and I try to talk to them on a regular basis about what can Muslims be doing to counter some of the misinformation about Islam and to really change the narrative in this country on an individual basis. And uniformly, they've all said to me, and I want to share this with leadership of the masjid, is we have to be seen as integrated into American society. We have to be, obviously within limits. Obviously the Muslim lifestyle is not the same as a lot of lifestyles of other people, but it's real important, I think, for us to be involved in activities with non-Muslims, to show ourselves as part of the fabric of the American society and integrate within it. And I think the worst thing we can do, though it may feel like the easiest and best thing to do, would be to pull out and be ourselves and separate and to do our own thing. I think that ultimately is going to befall us, because I think that's exactly the opposite of what we have to do. The only way we can counter this is by being present. People learn a lot more from seeing someone who they know that is behaving a certain way than they will some intellectual speaking on television or on the internet about how Muslims really are. They really are how they see people around them. That's how Muslims really are for people. And so we've got to be around them. We've got to be present. We've got to continue to come out. We've got to continue to be involved, and we can't go away. And so I hope that as everyone leaves tonight, they feel a little empowered, hopefully, inshallah, in the support that you have of the sisters and the positive things we've said. Again, we've not heard a lot of negative commentary about what's been going on in the city, and I think that's a good statement. I think that ought to make people feel empowered to know that perhaps things aren't quite as bad as we feared they were. Not to say that those things cannot happen, certainly they can, but let's be energized, let's be excited about continuing the fight, let's get excited about continuing to make a good example for our friends, and inshallah, and following our deen, inshallah.
Roa has our sign-up sheet. Please, if you could sign up, we'll get your email and we'll keep you updated with our information. She also has a Know Your Rights handout. This is extremely important. You know, if you get a chance, if you haven't already, if you don't have it, please make sure to have it. Read it. It's extremely helpful. It has some extremely helpful information on there. So it's a pocketbook. You can just keep it with you all times, and it'll tell you different things, what you can do. If you encounter police, or if you're at the airport, whatever. Like it has really good information. Please. Also, Roel will be handing out some information about CARE, just a contact for CARE Alabama. So on that note, would anybody? Oh, okay. W.
Sir, what we need to tell our children, especially the children, the older one, that there is increase of bullying inside the public school, even the high school. How the children normally report it to their teacher, but like the way I feel at this point that some of the teacher, I'm not trying to be negative, but some of the teacher they really just trying to brush it under the carpet.
They need to contact me.
They need to contact me, but honestly, this is just like minor incident that one of my daughter really came crying at home, and she doesn't want to even speak about it. But they feel that they should have been a role model as a Muslim, not to answer back or even answer politely. But the way I see it as a mother, that if there's any time they need to stand, this is the time to do that. Yes, you need to show your Islamic personality, but still you need to stop. It wasn't a part of fear. I know my daughter. It wasn't a part of fear that but this is a part of her kindness. That she want to show that this is what Islam about. No, I'm not going to answer you back, or I will answer you politely. And when we asked her to report it to the administration, she said, I don't think it's worth it to report it to the administration. What do you advise, honestly, these kind of children?
That's a wonderful question. I'll say that actually standing up for yourself is a part of our faith. What I am doing right now as CARE, this is us practicing our faith. Our faith tells us that we have to stand up for not only our rights, but rights of others. So when your daughter went through an incident like this, and when your mother says that this is a learning opportunity, what it means is that most of the times you might be the one who's able to handle it, but there might be other kids who really can't. And that's what it means that it's a learning opportunity. One, if you take that as an opportunity and contact somebody like CARE, we're gonna make sure that somebody else in the same position does not go through what you went through. And having just made that choice, you have practiced your faith. And I think this is a misnomer as well, but I think it's not a complete understanding of our faith. When you think, it's a beautiful understanding that we need to, be patient and calm and be polite. Absolutely, that's an individual act. You have to be all of that. But as a member of a community, but as a member who looks out for the interests of other people, you have to make that choice. And some moments you won't, that's okay. Other moments you might have to. And when you do, you should know that you can contact us. What I could have done in that situation is, I could have, talked to the student doesn't have to contact the principal themselves. We can contact them on their behalf and tell them that, this is something that's been reported to us, that this is something that's going on in your institute. And as they know very well that this is not something that a public school tolerates, so we would work with them in trying to find ways to eliminate things that are happening, or whatever that school is not dealing with, or if this has been going on before, and if this is a policy change that needs to be brought in that school, that helps us do that. So.
Let me just add real quickly to that is I think you have to report it. I know that in some instances people feel that that's maybe not the best thing to do. If the teacher's not going to report it upstream, then by contacting CALA and others that care, we'll find the people that do care. Someone cares about that discrimination. The teacher may not in some instances, the principal may not in some instances, but I promise you the superintendent does, or the director of education within the state. Someone far enough up the stream is going to care about this issue because though it may not be a legal issue for these children to discriminate against someone, it's something within our school system that's very different than being out in public. I think the level of tolerance for that kind of thing in a school is a lot lower than what it might be if you're at Walmart. So you've got to report it. I mean, you just have to report it. If nothing else, report it to CALA and others anonymously. If you're fearing that there may be repercussions to any of the students that may be here.
If you want to remain anonymous, we can absolutely do that.
We'll certainly respect any confidentiality, but it's got to be reported. If nothing else, report it to CALA. And we'll talk to you about whether it makes sense to report it upstream from there. So I know there are at least a couple people that have questions.
She's standing right there, Lucas.
Oh, here.
Assalamu alaikum. I don't want to take away from the importance of what's going on right now, but I had kids in public schools forever. And we need to be very careful when we deal with these issues. And the reason I'm mentioning this is that bullying in schools happen every single day, Muslim or not Muslim. And just because our kids are Muslims, this is like, you know, a bully is a bully. Yeah. So my kids got called terrorists since they were middle school. And Brother Lucas knows where my kids go. But the thing is, it's like any other type of bullying in school. You just have to kind of stay strong and not show fear. Now, if there's any threat of harm, that's different, I understand. But I just don't want us to overreact at some point because kids bully kids. And these should be treated as bullying cases, not as really, I'm gonna harm you, I'm gonna come and kill you kind of thing, I'm gonna bomb your house or whatever situation we're in. Just personal.
I absolutely agree with you, but at the same time, this is a double-edged sword. And this is a policy issue that's extremely important and we need to be at the forefront. What I mean by the forefront is we need to engage in a dialogue that includes us talking about our issues. For example, if bullying means that you call somebody a terrorist, nobody else is calling anybody else a terrorist. So if somebody is, for example, telling somebody else, a student, you know, I'm going to take your lunch money because you're a Muslim, then he's asking other people that, you know, I'm taking your lunch money because you're black, I'm taking your lunch money because you're wearing pony today, you know. So I think there's a difference here where as institutes, we cannot let these go to a point where discrimination becomes part and parcel of our existence. Unfortunately, we see this in our workplaces and at the same time, like you said, we see it in our schools. I cannot actually say that there was one, I think we were here last time this summer, when another students actually brought up the same issue, that kid had gone to school the entire year and his entire, you know, senior year and the grade, you know, ahead of him and the grade lower, they kept calling him terrorist the entire day. Yes.
No, I have a comment.
Okay, they kept calling him a terrorist the entire year, and he really was unaware of whatever was going on, which is, thank God for that kid that he really didn't realize why people were treating him a certain way. And he kept on, you know, doing whatever he was doing, and that's a wonderful way of dealing with it. But if that's one incident that happened that I've heard about in the summer, and you're telling me again that, you know, this is something that your kids go through, you're one mother who's sitting here that day. If I'm pretty sure if I keep, you know, asking this, a lot of kids are having the same problem. So there's only a certain a limit to, you know, not having this conversation in our schools, that it is not okay to consider Muslim kids, you know, or call Muslim kids that, because it's actually perpetuating a stereotype that we want to, you know, challenge. Yes.
Folks, we may have to leave with this, unfortunately. I think we're about time for
I just
some-
want to say one thing. I grew up in the city. I was bullied most of the time through grade school. I was beaten up a lot of times. I was cheated out of my money a lot of times. My mother never once went to school. I feared a lot of times. In the workplace, I was a lot of times bullied in the workplace because I did more work than everybody else. You gotta get a hard skin.
You do.
I mean, this is something I went through all of my first grade being bullied out of money because somebody would beat me up every day. So
Okay,
instead of getting beat up, I gave her the money. But
I don't believe-
you've got to, but this is something that you've got to get a hard skin about. And I know it's different, but you've just got to do it. You've got to get a hard skin. Or when you get into the workplace, like what I experience in the workplace, you're not going to be able to get through it.
Rita, I'm not
I
saying-
understand that.
I
but-
agree with you
We can get
completely.
into that discussion after the fact.
Yes, give us
Let's-
1 second.